So welcome back to the 4x4 Fab Shop. This is the last of a three-part series of building and installing an overland tire carrier swing away gate for a Dodge Ram pickup truck. So this was a total build. We built the carrier. We had to reinforce the bumper in quite a few spots. We still might end up doing just a little bit more reinforcement on it. But in this, we'll get it all buttoned up. There's still some welding and some fabrication we need to do. So please remember, if you enjoy this type of stuff, please subscribe. Ask me some questions. I'd love to do some Q&A with everybody. So if you leave those, I'd appreciate it. Alright, so let's get this thing done. If you're building a mount for these rims that have the multi-holes in it, make sure you know which ones you're using in case they ever replace it and they're not drilled for both. Alright, we're going to weld those bolts and washers in so that he's not always fighting it when he's trying to put them on. Now if you're building something for a spare, obviously offset's going to be a little different. So I'm just going to, this is our minimal. So that's our minimal. I'll give them another inch. That way I know we're good. So we just got to get that corner tacked on so we can figure out where everything else goes. I need to cut just a little bit off of this shaft. So it looks like I need to make that shaft 3/4 of an inch shorter. Okay, so now I have to duplicate this cap onto the other side. So just some basic gauges, just transfer gauges. I really don't care what the angle is. Alright, so that right there is the piece I need to form. So it'll be this piece, the corner, then I'll do the other side. And then that's one of the things that we'll make a video of after this, is just some basic PPE needed to do some fabrication. Right? Alright, so let's get this cut. We're going to use the cutoff wheel. So most fab work, even if you don't have a bandsaw or a cold saw, or in most cases even a plasma cutter, cutoff wheel and angle grinder will do you 90% of the work. Alright, so I think we got the cap now on this side done. So I'll get this tacked in place. Just a little offset so the bead's got somewhere to go. And here I'm just TIG welding a cap on the end of the tube for the gate. The clamp that came with it's from a company called D-Staco. Really good clamp. Just takes a couple 1/4-20 holes, drill and tap. You could weld it on, but it would be harder to replace if you ever wanted to. You just have to mount it in a 90 degrees. That way it draws up tight against this rubber mount. And the rubber mount will help on vibration and everything as well. Sand down a couple 1/4-inch washers and then just going right together. Alright, so there's that corner all mocked up. I'm going to weld this piece of angle on here to go up underneath that piece of rubber. So I was trying to figure out where to put the tire. Originally it was going to go up another 5 inches, and that's a big tire to be picking up. So I dropped the whole assembly 5 inches, and it was a little easier to put on. Worked a lot better. we dropped it 5 inches. So we just clear everything 5 inches lower, which is good. Got the latch, everything's in, it's not bolted or fully welded. Alright, so it's all mocked up. The only thing left to do is get this cap on. And we'll put the cap on when I weld this corner. So if you have complex pieces you got to make yourself a template. So these are just taped, but this I use tape to form this radius. So I'll just trace that line. I'll cut this piece out and then we'll weld that on. Then when you get where you want, just come through, and I like using these little fine Sharpies. And keep in mind, a lot of these edges are going to be weld. The only two that's not are going to be this contour. So I'm going to rough that in and sand it, in this back edge, which we're going to use the plate. Alright, so now we're fitting this corner in. Alright, so welded up big chunks of it. I gotta let it cool down, so I think we're gonna put it back together for today. I gotta grind out a couple of these tacks. I'm not gonna weld over those. Alright, so last I gotta cut a ring out so I can mount that pull stop. I think it looks pretty good overall. Gotta finish welding this in. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. That's a big old tire though. So we're tucked up in there. Alright, so we're coming down to the home stretch on this project. A couple little things. I gotta take these tacks off. Forgot to grind off the mill scale off the top. So I gotta get the mill scale off, get this put back on. I gotta finish just blending all this out. Probably lay another bead here just to smooth it. Weld on the tire section. Probably end up putting a gusset on it. And then have to finish welding on the clamp area. And then later we're gonna start welding that cap on, finish the other cap, and I think we're just about done. Nope, wait a minute. I have to make a ring for this to lock into. Alright, so one thing you can do if you have a lot of holes to tap, so that your tap goes in square, just take another block, roughly, I'm going to say 2 times your tap thickness, so 1/4 inch tap, 1/2 inch piece. Just drill it out so your tap passes through it, and that way when you tap your hole, it'll actually come out square. You take less chance of breaking your tap, and just use a little bit of cutting fluid on it. Alright, so we traced out our template for this ring onto our about 5/16 thick plate. So we'll get this plasma cut real quick, sand and grind, and then I think we'll be in pretty good shape. The plasma cutter sure makes cutting some of these profiles easy. I need to get better at contouring with it, but other than that, it works really nice. Alright, so if you have to change the pads, make sure you wipe down the face real good. And a little trick that'll help is just take it and fold the backer in half and get half of it on. And that way when you rotate it, you just pull the other half off. So I laid in a small bead of TIG here. I'm using that Rockmount tartan TIG. So it has 95,000 pound strength, and so does the Polaris. So it ought to be pretty stout. Now I got to have this edge square because that's where that rubber butts up against. So one of the last things we have to do is we're going to weld this gusset in, and then we got to weld that little T-handle on in the ring. It might be hard to see because of the sun, but I found a bushing that fits down in this. So I'll put the bushing down in there, and I'm just using a transfer punch. I'll get the gate where I want it, and then I'll hit it, and that'll let me know where the open point is on the gate. Pop off a couple tacks, drill a hole, and that'll locate the pull pin. So I'm going to put it over in this area. Alright, when you weld this piece in, just make sure you take this handle out. Otherwise you're going to melt that handle down. So if you ever have to when you put these together, the axle goes through the hole. They give you a set of nylon lock nuts. Push the button. Alright, so if you've never packed a bearing, put some in your hand and you just scrape it, and you're watching for it to come out of the rollers. Okay, the kit comes with a cotter pin and a grease seal. So I don't even need a socket, just drive it into the surface. And yes, that thing was heavy. And I'm going to throw a quick tack on it. That way I don't have to worry about that thing ever coming loose. Now it locks in place. Alright, so it's been a pretty hot one during this build. So we built that swing out gate there for that Dodge Ram. That's a pretty big tire for that. So as long as it's latched, it's got a safety latch on it. So if you like stuff like this, continue to watch the channel. Always remember to subscribe to it. You know, we're a new channel, we're trying to grow. We love doing builds like this. Right? So if you want any help with stuff like welding or bending, you know, see some of these other videos that'll pop up here. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them. I would love to do some Q&A on the channel as well. So this has been another build for the 4x4 Fab Shop. Thanks for following along. Please remember again to like, subscribe, and share.